Hey everyone, so in this video I'm going to be talking about how to get your driver's license in Korea. There are actually a couple different ways for you to get your license in Korea. One of them being if you already have a license in your home country, you can more or less take that license to Korea and then have it exchanged into a Korean license. Then the only other option for you is going to be to take the Korean driver's exam. Now, I actually went through both of these processes. I kind of went for the license exchange route and then the driver's exam route and then back to the license exchange route. So whichever route you decide to go, I will be covering that in this video. Back when I was looking into taking the driver's exam in Korea, I was under the impression from several YouTube videos I watched at that time I could do all the steps necessary to get the license all in one day and get it in one day. It turns out that was not true because I found out that at some point the Korean driver's exam system or the way they go about testing for driver's licenses changed a few years ago. I don't know what year, but obviously we are now under the new system. What you can expect to get done your first day at the driver's license bureau, agency, whatever you want to call it, in Korea. Essentially, you'll show up, you'll get your photos taken, you'll go and do a physical, which is just an eye exam, and they check your hearing. And then you will do a 1-hour video of some sort of driver's education. And it's going to be totally in Korean, so if you don't know enough Korean or you don't understand the video, I don't think it's going to harm you as a driver. Or also, I don't think it's going to affect your ability to get the license because you're not tested on that information either. Then you can sign up and schedule a written test, which you are likely going to be able to do the same day if you're there early enough. The nice thing about the written exam is that you can choose to do the exam in English. And as someone who has driver's experience, I would say that on the written exam, maybe more than half the questions are more about circumstances. If you're driving down this road and they will show a picture scenario, there's a car over here, there's a person crossing the street here, and they will tell you what's the safest way to drive in this situation. Answering those questions based off of your driving experience and common sense, it's really easy. And then another portion of the written exam is going to be related to the law. So obviously you're not going to know that information. So fortunately, on the driver's website for Korea, which I will link this down below, there is a question bank of all the possible questions that they will ask on the test. Just study the question and the answer. And in a sense, that's kind of how I learned about the driving laws. In Korea, there are actually 2 driving exams. So the first one is going to be where you take a car and you essentially drive around an obstacle course. And then after that exam, you would get your temporary license. And then the second driving exam is actually an on-road driving exam where, if you pass that, then you get your actual license. So when you're taking this obstacle course test, you're going to get into a car by yourself. No one's going to be in the car with you. There is a machine that will decide if you've messed up or not, which, you can see where this is going. So it will tell you to turn on the car, but you have to wait for a click or you have to count a couple seconds before you turn the car on. Otherwise, the machine can't record that you've turned the car on. So if you turn the car on too early, it doesn't think that you've turned the car on and you lose the points. If you turn the car on too late, then you lose points as well. So it's really easy to lose points on that because of the fact that it's a machine. And that course is standardized, so wherever you take this exam anywhere in Korea, it's going to be the exact same obstacle course. So if you look this up online on YouTube, you will see videos of people explaining the obstacle course. A lot of the videos are going to be in Korean. If you watch them though, because there's some parts of the exam where you have to be able to drive down a narrow road and then you're going to back up your car into a parking space and then go back the other way. So it is a very tight fit, and the reason they're testing you on this is because essentially you're going to be parking like this all the time in Korea. That part of the test honestly is really difficult in my opinion. So it's really easy in that part of the exam to lose points because if you hit the edge line you lose 10 points and you can't lose more than 20 points or you fail. So you can see the struggles. But I recommend checking out those videos because there's a video I watched, for example, where the driver would explain, like, once you get to this position, like, pull in this way, and then once you kind of see this tire lined up with this out your window, like, turn this way. And they gave you like some tips as far as like how to maneuver your car. I'll link that video down below. Mind you, that video is going to be in Korean, but you don't really need to understand Korean. I think if you just watch it, you can figure out what he's saying and what he's doing. I found it very frustrating though, because when I'm like taking this course, I was like, it would really be nice if I could just practice this. I remember one time I failed and one of the workers was like, oh, you'll have to practice again. You'll have to practice some more. And I was like, how can I practice though? Like, literally, I cannot legally drive a car before I pass that test. Because you need to pass that obstacle course test to get your temporary license. And I thought, but how can I practice? Like, what are they talking about? And it turns out, you know, like all things in Korea, there are hagwons for this. And apparently people who want to drive pay about 200,000 to 300,000 won in Korea. That's the ballpark that I was told by friends, to go and learn how to drive. And I guess somehow they're able to practice the driver's exam at their hagwon. So I felt a little bit frustrated because I already like have driving experience and I feel confident in the road test. I feel confident in the written test, but this is just an arbitrary obstacle course. And I thought, I don't want to pay a ton of money to go to hagwon for this obstacle course. And I was like, if I keep taking the test, I can practice the obstacle course, but that's just wasting my time and money. So it was actually at this point in the process where I gave up on the driver's exam. But if you are someone who doesn't have a driver's license in your home country and you're forced to go about this way, honestly, I recommend just going to a hagwon, because if you have no driving experience, I really think that it's just going to be better off for you to go to a hagwon and get all of the instruction that you need. So yeah, maybe check out some hagwons. After you pass that first driving exam, that's when they would give you a temporary license, and you can keep that temporary license for 1 year. And within that 1 year, you would have to pass the road skills test in order to get your license. The other way for you to get a license in Korea is you can take your license from your home country and have it exchanged into a Korean license here. Essentially, what you need to exchange your license is you'll need your Korean ARC card, your passport, you will need your license from your home country. It needs to be active. Okay, you can't give them an expired license, it's not gonna work. So that license, front and back, needs to be apostilled. And you also have to have proof of entrance and exit dates in Korea. I will also put this checklist down below for you guys, as well as a link to this website that has information about the driving license exchange process in English for you guys as well. But the biggest issue with exchanging your license, particularly for my American friends, is the apostille of your license. Because in order to get a license apostilled in America, because the license is issued by the state, I had to get a notary of the license first, and then that notary had to be apostilled. But the problem is you can't get your notary anywhere else except for the state it's issued in. But the problem is, like, the person whose ID it is needs to be present with the notary. So if you are planning to exchange your license in Korea and you're from America, I highly recommend, before you come to Korea, or if you're already here, on your next visit home, get your license notarized so that when you come back to Korea, you can use that. Otherwise, you might not be able to exchange your license. Also, you've got to make sure that when you give them the apostille, that it has the front and back side of your license, and that the apostille includes the date, or it can be rejected, because that happened to me. I recommend taking a photocopy front and back of your license, because once you give that to them, they keep it. The entire time you have the Korean license, you won't be able to access that license. It's kind of like a one-for-one trade. I know in America, for example, our driver's license number is a form of ID that we sometimes use for banking and other personal matter, and you're going to want to hold on to that information. Also, keep in mind that even if you go about the exchange process to exchange your license for a Korean one, some of you might still have to take the written exam. I'm actually from the state of Ohio, and apparently Ohio was one of these states where you have to take a written exam regardless. And I didn't really check that list, which again, like I said, I'm going to put the link down below and you should be able to check a list of who this applies to. But I didn't really check that list when I went for my final visit to get my license. And I got there and they're like, oh yeah, so you're going to take a test, you know, a written test. I was like, oh, really? Okay. When does it start? And they're like, right away. I was like, but I had to wait, and I had already done the driver's exams previously, so I just sat there, pulled up the question bank, and was like rereading as much as I could of like more of the legal questions that I kind of was rusty on. I was like, oh, I didn't prepare for this test, but I ended up passing that. So like, you know, the written test is not that difficult. And honestly, you need to know that information if you're going to be driving in Korea anyway. So I think that if you have to take the written exam, it's actually a benefit for you to get that opportunity to learn that information. So those are essentially the two ways to get a driver's license in Korea. But naturally, I have a bit of extra information that I want to give you guys. So one thing that you should be aware of is that the emergency brake, you have to use that when you park. But in America, it's not standard practice. But in Korea, it is mandatory, so if you actually don't park your car with that when you finish the driver's exam, I don't know, it might be an automatic fail, I'm not sure. But you have to do that. And if you watch the educational video, that 1-hour video at the beginning of the driver's exam, they will talk about that a lot in that video too. Something else to be aware of when you finally start driving in Korea and you start to, I don't know, hopefully you don't get into a car crash, but it can happen. If it's not like this in your home country, you might be surprised that there's really no zero fault in an accident here. I don't know if there's a situation where you can be 0% at fault, maybe, but in a lot of car crashes and a lot of examples that I've seen, in the instance where I feel like it's not this person's fault, they end up paying about 20%, or not paying 20%, but they're considered like 20% at fault for the accident. So I think that's something to be aware of, because if you do get into a car crash in Korea and you feel like it's not your fault, you might be surprised to find out that you're still responsible for some of the finances and stuff. Also, if you are ever in a car crash in Korea, you should phone both the police and your insurance agent. Take photos of your car and document everything that you can. Even if you want to settle with this person in whatever way you want to settle with them, I still think it should be reported just to play it safe. But in Korea, you should call your insurance agent and they will actually come to the car crash like right away. So just be aware of those are the numbers you should call if in the event you're in a car crash, which I hope for your safety or not. One more piece of advice I have for you guys. There are a lot of like car share apps like SoCar where you can sign up on the app and then you can rent cars. But the thing is, in Korea, in order to use those rental services and to rent a car in Korea in general, you have to have had your driver's license for at least 1 year. I signed up for the app SoCar. It will ask for you to send a photo of your driver's license. So I submitted the photo and I requested to, you know, be processed or approved to use their services. And then I got a message that said I was denied because of my driving experience. I didn't have the 1 year. But then I got a Kakao message. There was like a couple buttons at the bottom and one of them said something about like submitting proof of driving like skills or driving experience. So what I did was I clicked that button. It took me to customer service and I wrote a little message in Korean. So I do technically have driving experience beyond 1 year. Please reconsider me. If you don't speak Korean, I highly recommend you ask someone to help you with this, because I think being able to write it in Korean is going to help you. After a couple of days, it was approved. So then essentially you will not only have a Korean license, but you will also have the ability to rent cars. You can just go out and start driving in Korea. Good luck getting your driver's license and safe driving. And I'll see you guys in my next video.